All right, let's talk about debt. Specifically, what's the absolute best way to get rid of it? Today we're putting two heavy hitters head to head, the snowball method and the avalanche method. You know that feeling, right? When you're juggling a couple of credit card bills, a car payment, maybe some student loans, it can feel like you're totally buried, just trying to keep your head above water. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay there. A solid plan is your ladder out.
And that's exactly what we're going to dig into. This isn't about vague goals or, just trying harder. We're looking at two really popular, really effective methods that give you an actual roadmap to becoming completely debt-free.
So let's get into it. We're going to unpack these two main contenders in the world of debt repayment. Because this isn't just about paying bills. It's about having a smart game plan that you can actually stick to.
And this really gets to the core of it all. It basically boils down to a battle between how our brains work and what the cold, hard numbers say. On one side, you have the debt snowball, which is all about psychology and motivation, and on the other, the debt avalanche, which is pure mathematical efficiency.
So, the snowball method. Think of this as the quick win strategy. It's simple. You list your debts from the smallest balance to the largest. Then you throw every extra penny you have at that smallest one. Once it's gone, damn! You get that quick, powerful win. Then you take all the money you were paying on it and roll it over to the next smallest one, creating a bigger and bigger snowball. The avalanche method, though, is a completely different beast. Here, you forget about the balances for a minute and focus only on the interest rates. You list your debts from the highest interest rate down to the lowest and attack the most expensive one first. This is the pure, mathematically perfect way to save the most cash on interest.
Okay, theory is one thing, but how do these strategies actually perform when the rubber meets the road? Let's set up a direct comparison, a real head-to-head challenge, with a pretty typical debt scenario.
So here's our setup. We've got 4 common debts, adding up to $22,000. And notice the mix here. The balances are all over the place. And more importantly, so are the interest rates. From a nasty 22% on that second credit card, all the way down to a pretty manageable 5% on the student loan. And here is our secret weapon for this challenge. An extra $300 a month, on top of the minimum payments, to really accelerate our progress and attack this debt. Okay, the stage is set, the numbers are ready to go. So let's run this simulation and see which strategy wins this race to zero debt. I gotta say, the results might just surprise you. All right, with the snowball method, we go after the smallest balance first. That's credit card 1 at $2,000. All our extra money goes there, and it gets paid off in just about 5 months. That is the quick psychological victory this whole method is famous for. Feels good, right? Now, let's look at the avalanche. Here, we completely ignore the balances and go straight for the highest interest rate. That's credit card 2, with that whopping 22%. Now, it's going to take longer to pay this one off first, about 9 months. But the whole time, you're stopping that high-interest debt from costing you even more money.
So, for the snowball method, what's the final time to get to zero? The answer is 35 months. And what about the total cost? The total interest paid comes out to $2,868.
Okay, now for the avalanche. And get this, the timeline to become debt-free is exactly the same, 35 months.
But, and this is the big but, here's where the math really shows up. The total interest paid is lower, $2,789. By hitting that high-interest debt first, you just pay less money over the long run. Simple as that.
So when you put them side by side, the difference is crystal clear. The avalanche method saves about $79 in this scenario. Now I know what you're thinking, $79, that's it? But imagine if the debts were bigger or the interest rates were even higher. That savings could easily be hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars. So with these results in front of us, how do you actually decide which path is the right one for you? Because believe me, it is not just about the math.
It really just comes down to this. The snowball method is all about feeding your motivation. It gives you those quick emotional wins that might be exactly what you need to stay in the fight. The avalanche, on the other hand, is mathematically perfect. It saves you money, plain and simple. But it demands more patience right at the beginning.
Ultimately, the best strategy isn't the one that looks best on paper. It's the one you'll actually stick with. So the final question really isn't about the numbers at all. It's about you. Are you someone who's powered by the thrill of a quick win, or are you driven by the quiet satisfaction of long-term savings? The answer to that will tell you everything you need to know.
All right, let's talk talk debt. Today, we're throwing two heavyweights of the personal finance world into the ring, the Debt Snowball and the Debt Avalanche. If you're dealing with debt, you know the biggest question is always, okay, where do I even begin? Well, we're about to figure that out. So just to set the stage, let's start with a little dose of reality. This number, over $100,000, that's the average debt for a US household. And we're not just talking mortgages here, that's the whole shebang. Credit cards, car loans, you name it. It's a huge number, and it really shows you how high the stakes are for so many of us. Yeah, seeing a number like that can make you feel, well, a little overwhelmed. And if you feel that way, you are definitely not alone. It's so easy to feel like you're buried and you're not sure which way is up. So what is the best way to dig yourself out? And that question brings us right to the great debt dilemma. We've got two incredibly popular but really different philosophies on how to get to that debt-free finish line. And you know, it really boils down to this, a classic showdown between psychology and pure, cold, hard math. One method is all about working with your brain's need for motivation and wins. The other, it's engineered to save you the most money, period. So which one's gonna work for you? Let's find out. So first up in the ring, we've got the Debt Snowball. And just like the name says, this one is all about building momentum. You start small and you get bigger and bigger as you go. Okay, here's the game plan. You list out every single one of your debts, not by interest rate, but by how much you owe, from the tiniest balance to the largest. You keep making the minimum payments on everything, of course, but every single extra penny you have, you throw it at that smallest debt until it's gone. The interest rate, for now, doesn't even matter. It's all about scoring that first victory. And the why behind this is so important. This method is specifically designed to fight a very real thing called debt fatigue. I mean, let's be honest, paying off debt is a marathon, not a sprint, and it is so easy to get discouraged and just give up. The snowball method keeps you in the game by giving you these early wins that feel amazing and keep you motivated. Now, theory is great, but let's make this real. Let's cook up a case study. Imagine this is your debt situation, and you've managed to find an extra $800 a month to attack it with. We've got a little store card with a nasty interest rate, a medical bill with 0 interest, a regular credit card, and a car loan. Pretty typical stuff. So with the snowball method, what's our first target? Right, the smallest balance. That's that $500 store card. Once you knock that out, you take all the money you were paying on it and you roll it into the payment for the next smallest debt, the medical bill. You see what's happening? Your payment amount starts to, well, snowball, getting bigger and more powerful as it rolls downhill. And this right here, this is where you feel that psychological power. Just look at this timeline. In one single month, that annoying store card is completely gone. Poof! By month 3, the medical bill is history. These quick wins give you this incredible feeling of progress and control, and that feeling is what keeps you going. Okay, now for our second contender, the Debt Avalanche. If the snowball is all about feelings and psychology, this one is all about the math. This is the optimizer's choice. The Avalanche method totally flips the script. Forget the balances for a minute. Here, you organize your debts by their interest rate, their APR, from the highest down to the lowest, and you attack the most expensive debt first, the one that is literally costing you the most money in interest charges every single month. And the reason for this is simple, right? Financially speaking, this is the most efficient, the most optimized path forward. By taking out that high interest debt first, you stop more of your money from just getting eaten alive by interest over the long haul. So let's go back to our case study. Using the Avalanche, the order of attack changes completely. Now that 25% APR store card is still number 1 because it's both the smallest and has the highest interest. But what's next? We skip right over the smaller medical bill and go straight for the 18% credit card. We're just following the math. Okay, so we've seen how both methods work. The stage is set. Now it's time to put them head to head and see the final results from our little showdown. And well, the numbers, they tell a really clear story. With the Avalanche method, you're debt-free 2 months faster. And you save about $150 in total interest. In this scenario at least, the math is pretty decisive. When you see it visually like this, the difference is just stark. That gap between those two bars, that's not just some abstract number on a chart. That is real money that stays in your pocket if you go with the Avalanche. So let's just boil it down to one number. In our example, choosing the path of pure math saves you $150 and gets you out of debt 2 months sooner. Plain and simple. So, case closed, right? Avalanche wins, end of story. Well, not so fast, because the best method for paying off debt isn't just about the numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about the actual human being who has to follow the plan. It really just comes back to these two very different philosophies. Think of it this way. The snowball is a behavioral strategy. It's designed for real people who might lose focus or motivation. The avalanche? That's a pure optimization strategy. It's designed for maximum financial efficiency, no feelings involved. So, how in the world do you choose? Well, you've got to be really honest with yourself. Ask these questions. Do you know you're the kind of person who gets discouraged easily and you absolutely need those quick wins to keep going? Then hey, the snowball might be your best friend. Or are you super disciplined, you love spreadsheets, and you're just driven by the numbers? Then the avalanche is probably your path. Because here's the bottom line. The best plan is always, always the one you'll actually stick with. So ultimately, your entire decision boils down to this one single powerful question. On your journey to becoming debt-free, what's more valuable to you? The psychological boost you get from quick, early wins, or the cold, hard cash you get from long-term savings? There's no right answer for everyone, only the answer that's right for you. Really think about it.